Our next artist is Hannah Gold. Hannah Gold is a Houston-based interdisciplinary artist, muralist, and educator whose work explores animacy, ecological reciprocity, and ritual practices that honor animal life and death. Most notably through her roadkill funeral work, which reclaims moments of loss as sites of care, reflection, and reconnection. Through murals, installation, and social practice, she has created nearly 100 murals across Houston and Texas, often using her signature floral drip style to transform public spaces into immersive, living ecosystems. She is also the former producer of Dream Machine HTX, who was a selected artist for Meow Wolf Houston and has served as lead artist for the GreenStreet Houston and Hungry Like the Wolf, with residencies at Houston's Lobby Airport and upcoming at Hotel Lucine. She won first place in the Houston Arts Car Parade in 2022 and was voted favorite local painter by OutSmart Magazine in 2025. And she also designed a custom jumpsuit worn at the 2024 Grammy Awards by Grammy nominee Uncle Jumbo. She holds a BA in psychology from Sam Houston State University and will receive her MFA from the University of Houston in Interdisciplinary Practice and Emerging Forms. Hannah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. I do want to start this by saying that it's either like a cruel joke or of the universe or just like a sign that I'm meant to do this work, but my dog passed away 2 hours ago. So it's okay. But so if I'm a little less than eloquent or if I start crying, I'm not going to cry. But it is just something interesting to mention considering the work that I do. But anyways, so my work centers around animacy. I have this belief that all things hold life and spirit, and I'm interested in how we can rebuild our relationship to wildlife and recalibrate with natural systems and rhythms in our local ecosystems. My work and practice exists inside and outside of traditional art spaces. Considering that I do a lot of murals, I like to joke that I came from the streets because I was a street artist before I started my master's program. As murals, small installations, and rituals that invite people to reconsider their place in a shared ecosystem. I'm going to kind of talk about these pieces individually because they're all very overriding mediums, but they're all interconnected. This video here, it is a little graphic, just so you know there is deceased animals, so please don't watch if it's upsetting for you. But in this video you will see 4 roadside burials across Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. This is recorded, we were on a road trip. This is recorded with the intention to educate, offering a way for viewers to see how a roadside burial can be done safely and with care, a way to extend the ritual and practice to others if they choose to do this work. I also, I refilled my little booklets over there. It's a field guide to roadkill funerals, so it gives like a how-to and how to be safe, and some spiritual quotes in there. Below you'll see 4 portraits of the 4 animals that I did find across Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. I only use foraged flowers, so I like to collect these flowers. I keep them in, I've got a little situation in the back of my car where I keep the flowers, I keep my gloves, my hand sanitizer. It kind of looks like the kit that's over there that has, that's actually the kit that I use that has a lot of the foraged rocks and seeds and things that I use during these roadside burials, so it is like an ongoing practice. Right here, this is the burial. And this function is a literal and a symbolic gesture. It reflects the roadside burials I perform in my daily life, what you see in roadside assistance. Yeah, but even though this video shows my process, I've probably done close to 100 now. This is something I started about 5 to 6 months ago. So this is just sort of a display of that. This burial becomes a side of participation. There's often like kind of a quiet guilt when you see roadkill. We have this man-made infrastructure that sort of disrupts the ecosystem, and these animals are unfortunately can be demised due to our needs as human beings. But this invites me to sit with that feeling and possibly give an offering. So you'll see Blackbird doesn't allow real flowers, so some of my friends that came to the opening brought some fake flowers, because that's what I'm allowed to contribute to the burial. This mural is the big piece I did for Thesis exhibition. It traces the cycle of death. As you can see here, the stripes right here represent the road, and then we have the deceased coyote and a possum. This work is grounded in observing things that I've witnessed, things that I've researched, things that I've thought deeply about when coming in relation to these roadside burials. When an animal is left on asphalt, it's in a disrupted cycle. When it's moved to the dirt, grass, or forest nearby, it re-enters a living cycle. So you can see the coyote that becomes food for the carry-on feeders. So you've got the grackles and the vulture. And then it goes into these fungus cycle. I love reading about fungus and mushrooms and how they break down organic matter and recycle it into like nutrient-dense soil. So that's kind of what this piece is about. And I also what I love about natural cycles is like everything is used. When an animal passes, even its bones, like oftentimes the bones are used to create homes or to create nests for other animals that are still living. So you can see here, and then here more into the fungus and speaking to the watershed. So as the rain comes, it goes back into the soil and back into this water, sort of creating these nutrient cycles for new life or still existing life. So the goal in this, like you see a lot of like leachiness that's happening, and I'm trying to disrupt these boundaries between body, plants, and water. Those sort of boundaries begin to blur, and you start to see that everything is sort of interconnected. At the end of this, you'll see a living coyote and a living opossum, which echoes the deceased at the beginning. This is not a resurrection, but more symbolic of continuity. It's meant to show a story that is cyclical, ecological, and relational. Okay. Moving on to my second video over here. This is called Roadkill Funeral, Ode to a Possum. In this video, I shift from a solitary action to a collective ritual. In this video, you'll see 10 of my lovely friends, as well as 2 of my friends doing the videography, participating in this film. You see them wearing masks, all of which I handcrafted for each person in this film, based on the animals they felt that they related to. The masks are meant to destabilize the hierarchy between human and non-human into a more entangled identity. This work can be read in many ways, but at its core, I'm offering it as a romanticized funeral for an opossum. This is not meant to diminish death, but to reframe it as something worthy of care, attention, and ceremony. It is an intentional exaggeration meant to repair a relationship to the natural world. Moving to the field guides, I'll get to this circular. I tried to go as much in a circle as I could. Ironically, my work is very circular stuff, but over here I have these field guides. I actually printed 20 more because they were out, so please feel free to grab one on your way out. These field guides are how you can conduct your own roadside funeral. I'm also not saying that you have to. If it's not something that is your calling, you don't need to. And some people don't have the physical capacity or the mental capacity or the stomach really to do it, but it's something that is a practice that you are interested in. Just give some ways in which to have that practice. But the green kit is my actual kit that I keep in the back of my car, like I said before, with forged materials. I have another kit that keeps my gloves, my hand sanitizer, my mask, and some other materials in order to safely remove an animal off the asphalt. Behind you, you'll see this 4 series of paintings. I call these unstill lifes. This is when my work starts to play with art history. In these 4 paintings, I'm responding to the traditional still life, which historically render nature as static, decorative, or consumable. In these works, I'm interested in scrambling that and reanimating these forms to give them agency, movement, and relationality. The water pictures that you see here are vessels that are sites of exchange and offering. They can pour, they can share, they can hold things. Many of the patterns that you see on these pictures reference my heritage, which my father is from England, so I have a British background on that side, and my mother, she's from El Paso, but that family is predominantly Hispanic. So you can see a lot of Mexican folk art and English ceramic design on these pictures. This one on the right is the only one that features humans, and they allude to having a feminine form. This one represents the historical paintings of women gathered in water, images that often depict women as ornamental, such as like the waterhouse paintings that I think are very beautiful, but they do paint women in a more objective light. In this piece, Floral Communion, I'm interested in reclaiming that kinship and agency when it comes to women gathering in a body of water, or women gathering, or feminine forms gathering in nature. Showing that it's an active relationship to its environment as well as to one another. And lastly, over here, I have this circular painting. This actually was inspired by Jillian. I have to give her credit. When I was telling her about this mural, she was like, well, can you paint it in a circle? And that just like wrecked my brain. I was like, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to make another piece, because a lot of what I'm talking about is thinking about things in a very circular way, thinking about natural rhythms that recycle are very circular and inertia. So I created this piece as a response to the landscape, the history of landscape painting. I originally intended for the bottom to be painted directly onto the wall, but Glaffer did not allow that, which I understand. So I decided to paint it on stretched canvas instead. I'm sorry. So that it seems as if it's coming off of the canvas onto the wall. The surrounding material sort of functioned as a frame, not in a traditional sense, but more like a threshold or a window. I wanted it to make it something, the frame of something that sits between spaces. This landscape is not meant to be contained or conquered, it's meant to be expansive and ever-growing, free and wild. My practice is deeply personal, but is also, I consider it like sort of an offering to the community. I imagine that, I can assist with these types of murals for even domesticated animals. I just think that even, I'm not but even losing my own pet today, had to kind of have a little ritual this morning, and, it was necessary and needed, and I felt like it was really honoring. His name was Oreo. It was really honoring, little Oreo. And, it's something I want to carry on into the future, is to help facilitate these things where there's discomfort, or like, I want to do something like that, but how? Like, where do I get the benches? Where do I get the seating? Where do I go? So that's something I'm interested in continuing. But my work as a whole, it invites us to like really decenter ourselves in this human hierarchy that it's us and them, and rather thinking of us as a constant, continuous ecosystem. And move ourselves from a place of dominance to one that is an active participant in our ecosystem, not separate, but within it. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, for walking us through your work. Do we have any audience questions for Hannah?
How is the struggle to sort of get out of the clean way of living part of this? I mean, I'm just going to use that as like a placeholder there, but.
Yeah, that's really funny that you say that. So I've been with my partner for a couple years now, and when he first started staying in my house is like right off of Quiet Bayou, so there's a lot of critters. And I let them in my house. I didn't remove them. They would just, I assumed they didn't want to be there. They're going to find their way out. And I remember in the middle of the night, Matt wakes me up and he's like, hey, there's a lizard on the wall. And I don't actually have any recollection of me saying this, but I was like, it's okay, he's one of us. And I roll over and went back to sleep, which I love this story. But I will say, the time. But, you know, I do think that the cleanliness of things is sometimes odd. It feels very sterile. It feels very separate. And just another note on that is, you know, during the Industrial Revolution, World War II, when they started to build all these cleaning materials, you know, a lot of people were getting really ill because there was no FDA, so nobody knew what they were consuming, but these housewives were so desperate to keep their houses so clean that they were inadvertently poisoning their children. And I just think that's I really think about that sometimes because, you know, being outside, being in the woods, all these allergies that we're starting to have is like due to like our separation from our ecosystem of nature, you know. So yes. Did I answer your question?
Not at all.
Oh.
But it was a great answer.